The clock is ticking, guys. This might just become the biggest Bitcoin bull run in history. Donald Trump, now back in office, already signed an executive order to turn the US into the crypto capital of the world. He's backed by a team of pro-Bitcoin politicians, and already 11 states are working on establishing their own Bitcoin strategic reserve. But here's the thing. Time is running out, and you have only 3 months left before the next parabolic move begins. And in this video, I'm going to discuss why time is running out, the moves happening behind the scenes, and how you can position yourself to profit from all of this that is going on right now. So don't miss out on this video, because this might be your final chance to position yourself for what is about to come next. And if you enjoy watching videos like this one, where I break down complex topics in the world of investing, crypto, and money, then make sure to smash the like button and subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to be posting regular videos just like this one to help you to make sense of everything that's going on in the market. My goal is to help as many of you to maximize your profits in the crypto market. So let's dive in, guys. So urgent, you have only 3 months left to buy Bitcoin before a parabolic move. So here you see an image, or a photo of Donald Trump signing this executive order in which he announced that he wants to turn the US into the crypto capital of the world. So here are a few important points mentioned in this executive order. So first of all, he wants to turn crypto into a national priority. How big of a difference is that compared to the previous 4 years, where the crypto industry was attacked by regulators left and right, and they didn't really provide any good clarity. In fact, they were just aggressively fighting it off, because the establishment, meaning the politicians, the bankers, the financial elites, didn't really like crypto. They saw it as a threat that could undermine their power and influence, and they did everything they could to fight it off. But that wasn't possible, and now, fortunately, we have an administration that understands the importance of crypto. So he wants to make crypto officially recognized as a national priority, which signals a major policy shift indeed. Also, he wants to establish a crypto council, a new advisory council consisting of industry leaders that will advise on policy. And I really like this, because the best way to create new laws and regulations is by working with the industry, by inviting them to sit around the table and voice their experiences and opinions and create new legislation together. So together, they can foster innovation and regulate with a lighter touch. Next, there are plans to create a Bitcoin stockpile, so plans for a national digital asset stockpile. Potentially, okay, he's saying potentially, hopefully Bitcoin will be included, but that's definitely on the table, and this could stabilize markets and secure America's position in the digital economy. So again, that's a massive sign to the whole crypto industry, and particularly Bitcoin, because that is the main asset that we're talking about when we're talking about this national stockpile. A regulatory pause, so litigation against crypto companies is expected to be paused, opening the door for growth and innovation without the overhang of legal battles. That's really nice, again, because the past few years, the crypto industry has been attacked by the SEC, and now they have some space to breathe and actually focus on innovation and partnering with the government to grow this industry. SEC move, so the SEC has announced a task force to develop a clearer regulatory framework for crypto assets, indicating a move away from enforcement-led regulation. Yeah, so instead of providing clear rules and guidelines about what the crypto industry was allowed to do and what it was not allowed to do, instead they just attacked companies left and right, making examples of those companies. And I mean, when you're trying to create an environment of innovation, you want to encourage risk-taking, experimentation, but if there is a very big likelihood of you getting attacked by the regulators, it doesn't really encourage you to take risks, right? To raise money, to grow something. So yeah, these are the main points of this executive order, and in my opinion, it's massive, okay? So here, an article by CNBC, Trump signs executive order promoting crypto, paving the way for a digital asset stockpile. So everyone is always talking about this digital asset stockpile. So meaning that the government will use fiat money, paper money, to buy up these digital assets, mainly Bitcoin. So yeah, and this is a nice thing that Trump did this in the first few days in office, because he addressed the crypto community last year. He identified them as a very important audience to win his election, of course. And at that point, we didn't know if he was just making big, bold promises to the community or if he was actually going to deliver upon those promises. And now we're seeing signs that he's actually serious and committed to delivering on his promises. So I can't tell you guys how bullish I personally am. Let me know in the comments below if you're also very bullish about the future of the crypto industry, about the future of Bitcoin. So yeah, let me know where my bulls are in the comments below. So President Trump, his executive order is part of a plan to make the US a crypto capital of the world. So here is this X account, POTUS, which stands for the President of the United States, which is a redirect, which refers to the official president of the United States. So this will redirect to Donald Trump's X handle. And last week, or depending on when you're watching this video, might have been a few days ago, he actually held a speech at the WEF, the World Economic Forum. And basically, the World Economic Forum is a cult of globalists, and their goal is to turn the world into one global entity, where these global elites are the ones that are controlling everything. So Trump went out there, he held a speech, and actually he told them basically that he was almost against everything that they were doing. He pulled out of the World Health Organization, and he made many other claims against DEI, so diversity, equity, and inclusion, basically the whole woke mentality. So yeah, he made a bunch of very interesting claims at this WEF talk, which were against almost the whole principles of what the WEF is doing. Now, there's this interesting player that is part of Donald Trump's team, which is Senator Cynthia Lummis, and she is working with Donald Trump in order to get this Bitcoin strategic reserve established. And she has been promoted, or she has been put into a very key position of power. So she has become the chair of the Senate Banking Committee of Digital Assets. So she has been put in this really interesting position where she is going to help the US government to consider this potential move into buying up Bitcoin. Now, yeah, she's honored. Here's this tweet by her that she posted after she was promoted, or after she was put into this position of this committee. So she's honored to chair the Senate Banking Subcommittee on Digital Assets. First of all, guys, this committee didn't exist. I believe they created it especially for this Donald Trump administration and future administrations to come. And it shows that they are indeed taking this industry very serious. So here's a quote: "Digital assets are the future, and if the United States wants to remain a global leader in financial innovation, then Congress needs to urgently pass bipartisan legislation establishing a comprehensive legal framework for digital assets that strengthens the US dollar with a strategic Bitcoin reserve." I love those words, strategic Bitcoin reserve. I am humbled. My colleagues have placed their trust in me to chair this historic subcommittee. What I mentioned before, this is a new committee, which is very important. And I look forward to shepherding bipartisan legislation. What do we mean with bipartisan? In case if you are not from the US, in the US there's two main parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, and both basically share power within the government. So you need to have both sides to buy in order to really make big changes. So in short, she's really motivated, happy that has been put in such a position of power and influence in order to help the US to gain to make this important and historic move. So why do you want the USA to become the crypto capital of the world? I am from the Netherlands. I'm from Europe. There's a whole ocean in between. And why would I cheer for the US to become the crypto capital of the world? So, yeah, and why would you, if you're not a US national, cheer for the US to become the crypto capital of the world? Or root for the US to become the crypto capital of the world? Well, I used to work in Silicon Valley a bunch of years ago. I used to work there for a massive tech company, and that's where I started my career. So Silicon Valley is a global center of technological innovation located in the San Francisco Bay Area. Here you see the Bay Area, and there's all of these HQs of all of these tech companies which are making a massive impact in the world. And the whole thing about Silicon Valley is it has produced so much innovation. Why? Because you have some of the top minds in the world, some of the top engineers, some of the top venture capitalists and thinkers are all located in this environment. It's like a breeding ground for innovation. So if you look at the number of unicorn companies that was produced by the US, it far exceeds the other countries in the world. So what do we mean with a unicorn company? That's a company with $1 billion valuation. So here you see that the United States has produced around 739 unicorns. China has produced around 287 unicorns, and India 87, UK 60, Germany 39, France 30, Canada 27, Israel, for a small country 26 is impressive, but it's very small on a global scale. Switzerland, Netherlands, so where I'm originally from, 9 unicorn companies. Basically, if you compare it, the bulk, the largest chunk of all of this innovation, all of these unicorn companies are from the US, and most of them from Silicon Valley. So, there's this meme circulating on the internet. It says, America innovates, China replicates, and Europe regulates. And that is exactly, in my opinion, what is happening. So if we want to improve our living standards, we all benefit from, a hub like Silicon Valley that produces constant innovation to help us to improve our living standards and to help us to push the boundaries of what is possible with innovation. Because China oftentimes produces really great innovation, but they simply look at what is working really well in the US, they copy it, they try to make something better, faster, cheaper, for example, with electric vehicles, and oftentimes they succeed, but they're not the ones that are making the real innovation. And Europe, let's not even start talking about Europe. They just love regulating everything. They create so many rules about everything that they basically just kill or choke all of the innovation happening. So, Now, innovation doesn't only happen on company level. It also happens on nation-state level. Because actually, a nation is a business, right? It needs to generate revenue through, for example, taxes. And in order to generate revenue, it needs to have an attractive value proposition. So, one country that's really innovating is the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. That whole country is run like a startup. It's super interesting to see how the UAE is developing, whereas the rest of the world, especially Europe, we've got so much bureaucracy, we've got so much red tape, so the government barely ever innovates. And now, what we're seeing in the US also has a lot of red tape, a lot of bureaucracy. It's a very inefficient government. But with this Trump administration, we are seeing some signs of hope that they might actually turn things around. Also with the Department of Governmental Efficiency that will be run by Elon Musk and Vivek. So one of the innovations that they're talking about implementing is to buy up Bitcoin with its currency, So they hold a lot of assets in their reserves, mainly foreign exchange or forex, foreign currencies. They also hold gold in their reserves, and other bonds. But now they're talking about adding this strategic reserve to their stockpile, and that is a reserve of Bitcoin as an asset. So why is Bitcoin a strategic asset for the United States? And all of those, we're going to talk about that in a bit. Let's not get ahead of myself. But why is this so strategic? Well, the United States has a very big problem because they are in debt. They have $36 trillion of national debt, and all of the money that they have in circulation is becoming worth less over time because more and more of it is being printed out of thin air. So what do you do when money is becoming worth less? Well, you want to get your hands on some assets that either maintain purchasing power or that help you to increase your purchasing power. And Bitcoin has been the best performing asset class of the past decade. It has generated around 230% annual returns in the past decade, so from 2010 to 2020, and the past year it has generated 120% return. So if you're thinking about money on the one hand that's losing 2, 3, 4, 5, 8% of its value every single year, and you benchmark that against something that increases with 230% or 100% per year, then it's a quite obvious choice to put your money into something that appreciates instead of depreciates in value. Now, here is this chart by Polymarket, which is a decentralized prediction platform. Basically, people can gamble or place bets on certain outcomes in the world. And here it shows that 61% of people that placed a bet on Polymarket believes that there is a probability that the US will incorporate a Bitcoin reserve in 2025. Now, if you take the exact year of 2025 out of the equation, and you just look at the Trump, you look at the probability that Trump will implement a Bitcoin strategic reserve in its presidency, so meaning the next 4 years, then the market estimates a 100%, a 100% probability that will happen. Now, here you see a diagram of all of the countries that hold Bitcoin. So the US and China hold a lot of Bitcoin. They have seized this Bitcoin through lawsuits against criminals or fraudulent companies, and they seized those Bitcoins and now they're holding it in their treasury. So that's why US and China hold a lot of Bitcoin. UK also. Germany actually made one of the worst decisions in their nation's history, if you ask me, because they sold off all of this 50,000 Bitcoin. Ukraine holds almost 50,000 Bitcoin, but they received all of that in donations. El Salvador holds around 5,700 Bitcoin, and they have been accumulating this in the past few years. They have a goal to buy 1 Bitcoin at least every single year. And they're also mining Bitcoin by harvesting thermal energy generated by a volcano. So very interesting. Then we have Bhutan. Right now, Bhutan, I believe, owns around 16,000 Bitcoin. So Bhutan is a mountainous nation, a very small nation, close to Nepal and close to India. And they have been using their natural resources and their sovereign wealth fund to harvest the hydro energy generated in their hydro dams to mine Bitcoin. Then we have some countries that have some smaller positions: Venezuela, Finland, Georgia. Now, this diagram is not completely accurate anymore. Why? Because according to the CEO of CryptoQuant, which is an on-chain analytics platform, China sold off its entire bag of 194,000 Bitcoin, which they seized from Plus Token. So again, I mentioned, so the US and China, they hold a lot of Bitcoin, but they seized it from companies, lawsuits. And apparently China just sold all of that Bitcoin. That's massive. So that is around how much, if you calculate the worth of that, I believe around $20 billion worth of Bitcoin, which they sold on the open market. Now, the price is still above 100K at the time of recording this video. So even if China dumped all of their Bitcoin, then yeah, the market didn't really move, which means that there's enough buying pressure in the market to even sustain those kind of dumps. And this also shows why this market cycle is completely different than the previous market cycles. For example, if that would have happened in 2017, it might have been the end of the bull market. But now there are so many large institutions out there on the market which are pumping billions into Bitcoin. So BlackRock bought around $700 million worth of Bitcoin, their biggest single purchase of the year. And this happened recently. So while China was dumping, Germany dumped, the market simply absorbs all of this Bitcoin, and it moves hands from those who understand the long-term potential of Bitcoin. From those who don't understand the long-term potential of Bitcoin to those who do. So here, again, BlackRock just hit $60 billion of assets under management. So we're now talking about their IBIT, so the Bitcoin spot ETF that BlackRock has. They already have around $60 billion worth of Bitcoin under management. And this goes into the, history books as the fastest growing ETF in history in terms of assets under management. So that's why now Larry Fink, the head and CEO of BlackRock, is now becoming one of the biggest ambassadors of Bitcoin on Wall Street and on every single major media outlet. Then, of course, we have MicroStrategy, which is the poster child of a corporate which is using their excess liquidity to buy up Bitcoin. And they have gone on a massive shopping spree in Q4 of last year. They acquired almost 200,000 Bitcoin. And they now own almost 2% of the supply, or more than 2% of the supply. And they have outperformed almost all of the other companies on the stock market. So in the past 4 years, MicroStrategy generated 1,500% in returns, whereas the S&P 500, I believe, generated 130 or 140%, which is already good, but come on, 1,500% or 1,400%, that's insane. And that's because they have been buying up Bitcoin and holding it in their treasury. So here you see an historic overview of all of the purchases that they have done. Literally, they're buying up billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin here. This is just their purchases in January. So January 21st, boom. January 13, they bought more. January 6, they bought more. In December, almost every single week, they are buying more Bitcoin, regardless if the market goes up or down. They understand that even though Bitcoin is at around $100,000 right now, it's still dirt cheap compared to where it can be in the future. Let me know in the comments below if you also believe that Bitcoin is still dirt cheap, if you understand the future potential, because there's two ways of analyzing the value of Bitcoin. Of course, if you compare it to what happened in the past, Bitcoin was once at $1 per Bitcoin or $100 per Bitcoin or $1,000 per Bitcoin. And if you benchmark it off what it was worth in the future, then now it might be very expensive, but that's not the best way to evaluate the value of something. It's better to understand what could it be worth in the future, especially take into account that there is a limited supply of Bitcoin. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be in circulation. And at the same time, the demand for Bitcoin keeps going up and up and up with all of these massive institutions like BlackRock and MicroStrategy that are buying so many. So here you see here you see a chart of all of MicroStrategy's Bitcoin purchases, all of the green dots. So this is the perfect example of DCAing, dollar cost averaging, into the market. So whenever Michael Saylor has excess liquidity, he uses that to buy up more Bitcoin. And here you see he does it on very frequent intervals, regardless if Bitcoin is pumping, dumping, he keeps on buying more almost every single week. And that's why right now they own, I believe, around 470,000 Bitcoin. Insane. As of right now, BlackRock owns 574,000 Bitcoin, guys. That's almost 3% of the entire supply. And they have done this in a little bit more than just a year. Imagine how much more Bitcoin they can accumulate in the next few years. So all of the Bitcoin that you are selling right now, because you might be panicking, they will probably swallow it up like it's nothing. All right. For them, they understand where the future is going. BlackRock is known in the financial industry to be the smartest money on Wall Street. They have access to so many different data points, one of the strongest AI engine out there. And yeah, they're buying. They understand. So here you see their holdings increase over time from early 2024 last year to almost a bit, more than 1 year later. And now we're seeing the bank. So Morgan Stanley discloses that they hold around $272 million in Bitcoin ETF holdings. So again, the banks, they were one of the biggest critics of Bitcoin. And now even the banks are holding Bitcoin. That's insane, right? So Morgan Stanley CEO Ted Pick says banks will work with the US regulators on offering crypto. Again, a massive 180. The banks were attacking crypto, banning crypto, freezing your account the moment you made a crypto transaction. And now they understand crypto is here to stay. So let's find a way to, instead of fight it, embrace it and actually make nice money off it. Here's another such an article. I don't know why it's not loading. But anyways, Morgan Stanley and Bank of America detail crypto integration plans. So more banks are talking about integrating crypto into their day-to-day operations, and that's a massive pivot. So this is what I call the great migration. So what is the great pivot? It's not the great migration, that's something completely different. This is what I call the great pivot. So banks and institutions making this massive 180 pivot from attacking Bitcoin to now embracing it. Here, Bank of America CEO says that the financial industry will jump into crypto payments if regulators allow it. And this is exactly what is happening right now. So remember this executive order that Trump is signing. All of this is now aligning with Wall Street, with the banks embracing Bitcoin. So it wants to turn crypto into a national priority. It wants to stop attacking crypto companies and actually sit down with industry leaders to see how they can work with the industry in order to foster a more favorable environment to let this industry grow. Because of course, when you have a lot of innovation in a country, it creates jobs, it attracts capital, it attracts talent. So yeah, that's needed. Now, one important move within all of this is the fact that the SEC has recently rejected SAB 121. So what is SAB 121? Well, it stands for Staff Accounting Bulletin number 121. And it basically comes down to the fact that banks are now allowed to custody, so hold Bitcoin for their customers. Previously, this was not allowed, but the whole thing that this unlocks is what Eric Weiss says over here. It can't be overstated how important this is, because soon you'll be able to borrow against your Bitcoin and get paid interest on it. So if you deposit your Bitcoin with a bank, well, the big question you might ask yourself over here is, do you even want to deposit your Bitcoin with a bank? Well, MicroStrategy actually has a vision to build the world's first Bitcoin bank. So I would be more comfortable depositing my Bitcoin with MicroStrategy than the average bank. But the whole idea is that instead of selling your Bitcoin, you could deposit it at the bank and borrow against your Bitcoin, just like you can borrow against the value of a real estate property. So it's like a Bitcoin mortgage. And that unlocks a lot. Also, it means that less Bitcoin will be sold in the future on the open market because more people will just deposit it at the bank and borrow against the value of their Bitcoin. Here, another tweet saying, breaking news, Trump repeals SAB 121 on day one. This executive order will allow banks to custody Bitcoin, unlocking massive adoption. Congress passed it last year, but Biden vetoed it. Trump's team made it clear this is priority number one. So, and this completes Saylor's $5 million Bitcoin trifecta. So the 5 criteria that are needed in order for Bitcoin to grow to a $5 million valuation. And that's number 1, Bitcoin spot ETFs approved, because this bridges the gap between the crypto industry and Bitcoin between the crypto industry and the traditional financial markets, because now institutions like banks, pension funds can get exposure to Bitcoin by buying up ETFs, and which allows billions to flow into the market. So fair value accounting confirmed. So yeah, and SAB 10121. So meaning that banks can custody Bitcoin and you can borrow against Bitcoin. So he's saying you have no idea how bullish this is, and I totally agree, guys. I mean, the average person has no idea how rapidly the sentiment is changing within the entire Bitcoin and crypto ecosystem. Here we even see that Larry Fink, the face and CEO of BlackRock, is now going on a spree to show his face on all of these media outlets, and he's even claiming that, you know, if everyone adopts a 2 to 5% allocation to Bitcoin, and we're seeing now that financial advisors are slowly starting to recommend Bitcoin as an integral component of every investment portfolio. If everyone does this, then he says, you know, it's very inevitable that Bitcoin will reach a price of $700,000. So again, if you see Bitcoin at around 100K right now, $100,000, then knowing that it could go to around 700,000, that one of the smartest people within the industry is making this bold prediction, then yeah, Bitcoin is dirt cheap if you compare it to where it could go if this plays out. So BlackRock CEO reveals that sovereign wealth funds are talking about Bitcoin, and he predicts that Bitcoin will become a $14 trillion asset as the dollar collapse fears boost the price. So yeah, Bitcoin is seen as a safe haven asset. Of course, you might wonder, you know, with those very extreme, with the very extreme volatility in the price of Bitcoin, how can Bitcoin, you know, how can it be a safe haven asset when it fluctuates so much in value? Well, if you benchmark it against the other alternative, holding cash, which guaranteed goes down in value, in purchasing power every single year because more money gets printed, then even though Bitcoin is very volatile and it can go up and down in price a lot every single day, it's still a much better alternative, because if you look at the price appreciation of Bitcoin over time, it has generated hundreds of percents of returns every single year just by holding the asset, compared to cash, which loses value over time. So why specifically are the next 3 months crucial? Well, Bitcoin balances on exchanges are at record lows, meaning that soon we will see a massive supply shock happening. So one thing that you should understand is that the whales, the big institutions, they don't buy on the open market, because if they buy billions of dollars of Bitcoin on the open market, the price tends to go up. So what do? They buy through OTC desks, meaning over-the-counter desks. So they simply contact these exchanges to say, hey, do you have a few thousand Bitcoin available? Can I buy them at market price? Here's my wallet, send me an invoice, I will transfer the money. And this happens outside of the open market so that they don't move the markets too much. And this is the first time in history that Bitcoin on exchanges continue to drop during a bull run. So here you see this chart. So the black line is the price of Bitcoin, and the purple line is the Bitcoin reserves on exchanges. And you see normally during bull markets, these Bitcoin reserves go up. However, this bull market, it goes down, meaning that, yeah, exchanges have less Bitcoin reserves, which is crazy. And again, if you've paid attention at economics class, you know that the price of something gets established by an equilibrium between demand and supply. And when there's less supply available, when demand is going up, then usually it means that the price will skyrocket when there's a supply shock happening in the market. Now, another very bullish signal that I'm seeing right now is that retail, like the average investor, the average Joe, is now not investing in Bitcoin. They're getting bored. Bitcoin has been moving sideways. They thought, they could make quick money within the crypto space, and now it's going up, it's going down, it's moving sideways, and they're losing interest. On the other hand, if you're looking at who is buying Bitcoin right now, it's all of the large institutions, the whales, because they understand the long-term potential of Bitcoin. And usually, this is a sign that the next leg up of the bull market is about to start. So when retail investors are panicking, they're bored, they're pulling their money out of the market, and large investors are buying up, it's probably because they know that the market is going to pump very soon. and then retail will buy back into the market at a much higher price, which is very painful for them, of course. Now, also what we're seeing all of these, countries which are competing for who is going to be the first country to establish these Bitcoin reserves. So we're hearing these rumors that the US is going to pass a bill that will allow it to buy up to $1 million worth of Bitcoin. $1 million Bitcoin. Now they hold around 200,000 Bitcoin, and they can buy up to 1 million Bitcoin, meaning they can 5x their supply of Bitcoin. I also heard rumors that Putin is mining Bitcoin through a state-owned company. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be a very interesting time. And I believe when we're going to see one or a few big countries get into Bitcoin, I think it will trigger a domino effect of other countries that will follow them soon. Now, that's of course on a nation-state level, but also on a state level within the US. We're seeing that 11 US states are considering legislation to establish their own Bitcoin reserves. And this is happening within a very short period of time. So almost every month or week, I hear news of a new state which is potentially embracing Bitcoin. And the US is often leading in terms of these innovations. Again, we've got Silicon Valley, which produces a lot of tech innovation. But yeah, every once in a while, even though the US can be very slow, bureaucratic, and efficient, every once in a while, there's a window of opportunity where a lot of change happens. And this seems to be one of those windows of opportunity. So when those states and the US as a nation are going to buy up Bitcoin, well, it means that billions will flow into the market, pumping up the price of Bitcoin even further. Now, the current Trump administration is also thinking about additional incentives to help the crypto industry to flourish. So here you see an article stating that Eric Trump, the son of Donald Trump, confirms that US-based crypto projects will benefit from zero capital gains tax. So again, they're trying to make this perfect breeding ground for the crypto industry to flourish, which is really nice. And talking about nation-state FOMO and this Bitcoin arms race, well, here you see an article by the Gulf News, which is a paper in the UAE. He's saying, after the US decision, it is time for UAE enterprises to buy up Bitcoin. So institutional buying could be the next big thing for cryptocurrencies in the UAE. So when the US was attacking the crypto industry in the past few years, many of those companies moved to Dubai because Dubai is positioning itself to be a much more favorable climate for these companies to establish themselves, much more pro-Bitcoin, pro-innovation, pro-crypto. And they've established themselves as like the Silicon Valley for crypto. And as a very logical next step is that many of those companies in the UAE will also start to buy up and hold Bitcoin, just like MicroStrategy and many other corporate entities in the US are now doing. Soon, every billionaire will buy $1 billion of Bitcoin, and the supply shock will be so great that we will stop measuring BTC in terms of fiat. That's a quote by Michael Saylor, and that's an interesting quote to end this video with. I hope you got good insights out of this video. Again, let me know in the comments below. Do you believe that we are about to see the biggest Bitcoin bull market in history? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed watching videos like this one, then do me one quick favor. Make sure to smash the like button so I know that you got good value out of it. It's a good feedback mechanism for me. And if you aren't yet subscribed to my channel, also make sure to subscribe to my channel because I'm going to be posting regular videos just like this one to help you to get an advantage in the crypto market and to help you to make sense of everything that's going on. All right, thanks for watching. Peace out, take care, and I see you in the next one.